Go.
Hi, my name is Mr. Dan, and I'm going to show you guys how to build a computer. We have these cool computers we got from Dell. They should be mostly taken apart. Might have kind of your pieces strewn about like this, and I'm just going to use this video to show you how to put all the pieces together to save you asking us a lot of questions and showing you. So here's our main case. This is what holds everything together, and these are kind of cool. They have this fancy little handle, and you just kind of pull the handle, pop it open, and then now we can see on the inside it's pretty empty. There's all this space where we're going to put our power supply over here, our motherboard, our CD drive, and even our hard drive as we're going. Now, the first thing that I like to put in is this power supply. So this is this kind of big aluminum block like this. What this does is we can plug our computer in from the wall using this, and it turns the AC power from the wall into DC power so our computer can use it. And we just kind of stick this into the back, kind of slides in right here. And then you can see that it will line up with 4 little holes on the outside. I'm going to grab my trusty little screwdriver, and I'm just going to carefully screw these in. Now, when you're screwing in screws for a computer, you are not building a car. What that means is we just tighten kind of tight. When we start to feel resistance, we stop. If you push really hard when you are screwing the screws in, you can easily strip the screw, which kind of breaks that spot, and it makes it so you can never really undo it very easily. So you do want to be careful. Another trick that I will do sometimes is you can kind of screw in all 4 screws lightly first, and then you go back at the end and tighten them, and that makes sure that they kind of all fit together. Cool. I'm just going to go check all of them. This one's a little loose. Cool. Perfect. So now my power supply is in. And these power supplies have these 2 little wires kind of coming out. And I'm going to use these to plug it into my motherboard to give power for the rest of the computer. So I'm going to do the motherboard next. Let's take a look at this motherboard first. Now, these motherboards come with the heatsink, which is what this giant thing is right here, with the CPU underneath it. Now, normally when you buy this online, you might have to put your CPU and heatsink on, but it's very difficult, and we're just going to use these like this for now. I'll show you a little bit later another broken motherboard and CPU, kind of what those look like. You'll see on the side, this is where we plug all our stuff in. We have like our USB ports, HDMI ports, our spot for our headphones, even spot for our monitor and our video card if we'd like. Now, when we put this in, we have these little spots on the base of our case on the inside. You can see there's these little spots poking up all over the ground. And if you look at the motherboard, there's actually matching holes that will match exactly in the spots for those. So I'm going to carefully, now you can kind of hold it with the fan and the heatsink. It's very sturdy, so it doesn't come off. And I'm going to gently, part can be a little tricky because it's really tight. Kind of have to fit it in a little sideways. Oops, that's not going to work. Let's try this way. Oh my gosh. As long as we go slow and gentle. How did we get these in? Oops. How'd you get it in? Oh, like that? I guess that makes more sense, huh? Ah, there we go. Cool. Well, got a little help from a friend there. That's always important. Cool, so now I'm making sure that all my wires that I kind of put things in, nothing is on underneath the motherboard. And now I'm going to carefully push in the side. So if you look on the side over here, this is called our little I/O shield. And if my motherboard is way back, see, the things don't really line up. I need to put these and gently push them together to make sure that it's kind of all poking out. This way, when I do plug my peripherals, they're called, I'll actually be able to plug them in. Now I'm just going to screw the motherboard in. Now, I want to put a screw in every single one of the holes. Now, I know it seems a little silly to have to put it in all of them, but if you look closely at these little screw holes, they actually have a bit of metal around the outside. And each of these screw holes helps ground the motherboard so that when you put it in, it will help connect and make sure that everything's working properly. So you don't want to leave any of these screw holes empty. And just like before, when you screw them in, we don't like crank it really, really tight. We just kind of push a little bit until there's a little bit of resistance that we can feel. As soon as you feel that resistance, then you kind of just stop. Cool. And there's a bunch of these, so this part takes a while. And you can see what I do when I put it in. I kind of push my finger like against the edge of the screwdriver, because otherwise it's almost impossible to get the screws down there. So I kind of just guide it into the hole. Oops. And then I just kind of gently, sometimes I'll go backwards. They get kind of misthreaded really easily. So you want to be really careful when you're putting them in. Okay, got two more. Hardest ones, of course, and I saved for last. I don't know if you can see that there. Kinda might have done that one a little bit off, but we'll be gentle and we'll try not to make it any worse. Let's see this last one. Now, when you're building, you're going to have a group, so make sure that you share and kind of split up the roles. Cool. So now I can check my motherboard is nice and tight in here. And with how this power supply works, you can see that it has these two power plugs coming out. The different colors actually mean different things. I always kind of like looking for this green one. This green one is the one that turns it on. So you can always find that green one somewhere. Now, people are always worried about, well, there's so many wires, where do I plug everything in? Well, with computers, there's only one spot that actually fits. You'll notice there's only one spot that has a 2x4, and I can see that it's right here. And I just kind of push it hard and it clicks right together. This one is a little 2x2. Let's see, where is this one? Oh, I can see it's right over here, and it's a little white connector. And if you even look close, you can see that some of them are square and some of them are like trapezoids, and I can figure out which direction it connects. So nice. Now my motherboard is connected into my spot. But you'll notice that there are these 4 RAM slots, or these RAM slots right here. And that's what this is. This is a little piece of RAM, stands for random access memory, and it's what the CPU stores its little bits on when it needs to get to them really, really fast. This is one of the scariest parts because it feels like you're going to break it, but you're not. Look here along the edge. Notice that there's like a little hole. Notice that also that it's off to one side. There's a little matching hole here. Looks like it's going up. So I'm going to make sure that they match. I don't want to put it this way because I'll push as hard as I want and it'll break, and that would be bad. Instead, I'll make sure it matches. You kind of guide it in, and then you push pretty hard on each corner, and then see how those little pieces snap. I'm going to do that one more time. Make sure that they match. Line them up, gently push it, and then I'm going to push on the top and then push on the bottom. Nice, my RAM is in. Now I only have one RAM piece here, but later if I want to upgrade or I want to play my games faster, you can buy more RAM sticks and slide them in these extra spaces, which is pretty cool. All right, next, talking about gaming, I need to pop this open quick. I'm going to use a video card. Now, you might not have one in your setup. We're just going to use this for demonstration. You'll see that there's a huge heatsink, even bigger than on our CPU for our GPU. GPU is graphics processing unit. It does a lot of calculations and it uses a whole lot of power, actually. That's why it needs that. And this will slide into this little blue slot right here called a PCI Express. Now, in order to do this, I have to kind of pop open some slots. Oops, I'm going to put this down so that it will actually make new holes in the back of the computer. And as I slide this in, hopefully this is going to fit in this one. Cool. It See how I kind of gently lined it up on the blue? And just like the RAM, I'm gonna kind of gently push it. I think. Sometimes with these, you gotta kind of just be gentle. Yeah, as far as I'm gonna push it. And now I can click this back closed, and I have a new place to plug something in. This is called a DVI slot, and it has a lot more resolution than this older VGA slot. So if I'm gonna play a game, now I'm gonna be able to make the graphics look much nicer on my game. Cool. Now, I have two more things that I'm going to put in order to get this stuff to work. This first one, we don't actually even use that much anymore, but we're gonna put it in anyway because it came with our computers. This is a CD slot, or CD drive. When I put this in, I'm just gonna flip my computer up like this. And my CD drive, these are a little bit weird, they're tricky. It's actually just gonna slide right in through the front, just kind of gently back. And to secure it, I'm going to use one of these really weird screws. So you'll see that it has like a part that doesn't have threads and a part that does have threads. I'm going to need this, and I'm going to put it, if I push this out, I'm going to have a little hole right here. And I just want to put this piece, this little weird screw, right here. Oops. These are tricky. And I'll show you. These are pretty cool and how this one works. Back when I made these when I was younger, we did not have cool things like this. So now that that is in, I can just push it and it actually just connects nice and tight right there, which is really cool. Now I'm going to put this back down because my CD drive can't talk to my motherboard. In order to get anything working, we have to connect them with data and power. Over here, I have my data wire. This is called a SATA cable, and it has these little cable connections. And if I look in the back of my CD drive, I can see that I have two connections as well. Let's see. I need to connect my power cable. These say, I don't know, ODD P4, not sure why. And you can notice that there's a little nub on one side, like a little edge, and the other side is flat. The same is true on my CPU. Let me pull it out, or my CD drive. All right. So what's annoying about these is once you put the screw in, you can't pull it out. Very frustrating. You don't have an extra CD drive, do you? Pulled out, not yet. So I'm just going to gently line up. What do I have? My little nubs on the bottom. I'm going to kind of, I don't know how well you can see that. Am I putting it in wrong? Oop, I think I am. That's why we always go slow. Oh, there it goes. So it's connected in. Next, I'm going to take my SATA cable. Has the same little nub. That one's going this way, it looks like. And I'm going to connect it right in. So this is going to give me power. This is going to give me data. Now I need to connect this in, so I'm going to connect this right over here with one of my little white connectors. Now it'll be able to talk to the motherboard. Now what's weird about this case, which is a little different than I've used before, is I actually need to find this piece, which is kind of like, it has 5, almost like a 2x3 with 1 missing. And I'll see that it matches perfectly with this spot right here. This is going to give power to my peripherals. It's going to provide power along to my CD drive. Cool. I'm almost done. My last piece is this. This is an SSD, or a solid state hard drive, which is pretty cool. The older hard drives were much larger and they had platters that spun in them really fast. These don't have any moving parts at all. And if you look closely, it has exactly the same ports that we just connected with the CD drive. Now, we don't have a good spot to put these in here, so we're just gonna gently set it in and hope for the best. Because normally we would have like one of these drive bays or one of the spots to put it, but we don't really for this computer. So we'll just do with what we've got. Okay, so I'm gonna give it power by connecting it carefully. Oops, making sure that I connect it the right way. Okay, I have power. Then I'm going to go get one of my SATA data cables, making sure that I connect it correctly like that, and then I can connect it over. Now, in this case, it doesn't really matter which one you connect into which one. Notice there's two white ones over here, and it's a little tricky to see, but there's actually two more way over in the corner, a black and a blue one. If I had like 3 or 4 hard drives and I wanted to change what order I wanted to load Windows, it would be important where they go. But if I only have one hard drive, it doesn't really matter that much. So I'm pretty much fine. All right, lastly, I have a couple of little floating connectors to kind of put in. Notice this guy, this is a big blue wire. This one, if I follow it along, it actually connects to the front port. And in the front, I have my USB drive or my USB ports and my little headphone jack in the front. These have to connect to the motherboard because everything has to connect to the motherboard. So I'm gonna grab this big old plug, this big blue one here, and they conveniently labeled it for me blue. So if I couldn't figure that out, I can kind of connect it. Now I probably should have done that before I put the video card in. And in fact, I'm gonna pull it out quick. And lots of times when you do build computers, you end up kind of going forward and then backwards. The key is going slow and steady. If something doesn't fit right or it feels like it's gonna break, ask somebody before you do break. Okay, this is like a little, oh, that's weird. It's like a little sensor for when the door is open and closed. It looks like it's black and it has 3. I'm gonna guess that it goes, ooh, my hand's too big for it there, right there. This looks like a power connector for this fan. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I see, 5 right there. They almost always will set it up for me. Oh, you probably can't see that. So that it fits the same color. Okay, what else do I have? This is a little tiny one that has 2. Ooh, I see one way down here. I'm not sure what this is. My guess is that it's like the speaker. Sometimes it's the part that beeps on your computer. Of course, it's behind this, just like I said. 1 step forward, 2 steps back. Now, when you guys do this, you will have smaller hands than me, so it should be less of an issue. Oh my gosh. That is tiny, so see how I put it right in there. And now I'm gonna put the blue one back in, so now they're both connected. Let's see, am I missing anything else? Oops, I do, I have another speaker. This is probably the speaker. It is 5 and it kind of looks like this. Let's see, it's gonna be somewhere where this wire reaches. Oh, this looks promising right here. Cool, so see how I didn't really know that that was it, but I could figure it out because it fit. All right, that looks like everything. I'm pretty sure at least. If not, well, oh, what's this one? Oh, perfect. We also have another, these are the big USB ones. It's probably gonna be down here. This one you can see, it has one of the holes plugged. USB always have one of the corners plugged, and that'll help tell me which hole I put it in. I'm gonna again pull this one out. Should have just saved that for the end, huh? Where does this go? I think like this. Cool, yep, just like that. And then the third, and hopefully final time, I'm gonna put this blue one back together. Cool, I'm gonna slide the video card back in, but you probably won't have one. You might have an example there to try out. But I'll just put it in just so that we can see. Gently into the spot. Cool, I'm gonna click it back together. Awesome. Then, I'm gonna put the top of my case back on, slide it in the corner first, handle down, done. Next, I'm gonna gently flip it back up. And I need one of these weird little funky power cords. These are special computer power cords. They have one side that looks like you should recognize, and one side that always looks like this, kind of this little trapezoid shape. It plugs right into the back of your computer, back into your power supply, and then this plugs into the wall. And then If all goes well, you should be able to plug it in and it should work. Cool. Well, thank you for joining us, and I hope that it goes as smoothly as it did for me. Thank you.